Back in 1980, on the day the chief's son returned to the army, I lied that I was pregnant and asked someone to quickly call my husband back from the train station. In my previous life, as soon as my husband left, Nathan broke into my room at night. I didn't want to be violated by him and struggled desperately until I finally woke up my in-laws in the next room. But instead of helping me, they didn't say a word and immediately treated us as adulterers. They threw us into a sack and beat us viciously. My son has only been gone a short time, and you little whore, can't even bear the loneliness and want to commit adultery? I'll beat you to death, you two dogs. I knelt on the ground, covered in blood, begging for mercy and insisting I was innocent, but Nathan claimed I had seduced him to avoid punishment. Even my husband, who rushed back overnight after receiving the telegram, refused to believe me. He burst in, furious. "You filthy woman. I'll drown you in the pond and see how you seduce other men then." And he did. I was drowned. Nathan was later sentenced to prison for hooliganism. After I died, I learned that my husband's family had long coveted the village chief's daughter. That rich girl and her family framed me to get rid of Nathan, who had long been a creditor of the Bryan family. In this new life, I looked at my husband sleeping soundly under the quilt and smiled. "Don't just sit there doing nothing all day. Your mother is cooking, go help her in the kitchen," my father-in-law barked with disdain. I looked up blankly and scanned the familiar room. The cupboards and calendar on the wall clearly read 1980. In that moment, I realized I had been reborn. I rolled my eyes at him, opened the curtain, and walked toward the kitchen. Just as I reached the door, I heard my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, Diana, whispering, "Mom, my brother already took the luggage to the train station. Nathan will come tonight. Once everything is done, not only can I kick out that hen who can't lay eggs and marry into the chief's family, but we'll also get rid of Nathan in the name of beating the adulterer. That way, the creditors are gone. Ha ha ha, kill 3 birds with 1 stone." Diana's determined voice made the mother-in-law chuckle sinisterly. "Humph, that Ellie's sitting on the toilet without shitting. Now that my son's become a high-ranking officer, she's even more unworthy. It's time to find him a wife who actually matches his status." I stood outside the yard, shaking my head speechlessly. "Humph, calling your own son a toiletit's unbelievable." I clutched my chest, heart aching at the memory. In my previous life, after visiting home, my husband returned to the army. I was exhausted from those days with him and went to bed early. But in the middle of the night, that old scoundrel Nathan crept into my room. He was too strong, I couldn't fight him off. I could only beg him to let me go. In the struggle, my in-laws barged in. When they saw us disheveled, they flew into a rage, threw us into a sack, and beat us relentlessly. Shameless lad. You think the Bryan family is that easy to fool? My son's only been gone a few days, and you're already hooking up with some wild man? I cried and pleaded through my tears, but they wouldn't listen. They sent a telegram to my husband, urging him to return and divorce me. With my in-laws and sister-in-law testifying against me and Nathan insisting I seduced him, my husband found me guilty. In a rage, he drowned me in the pond. Not long after, he married the village chief's daughter with gongs and drums. Only then did I realize the whole thing had been a setup by the Bryan family. Remembering the despair and suffocation of my last death, I clenched my teeth with hatred. In this life, I wouldn't let any of them get away. After eavesdropping, I quickly found a familiar villager and asked him to go to the train station to call my husband back. When he returned, surprised, he grabbed my hand and asked, "You're pregnant." "That's amazing. The Bryan family finally has an heir, and I'm about to be promoted. Double happiness. Do my parents know?" I stopped him. "They say it's unstable during the first 3 months. Let's wait until it stabilizes. If something happens, you'll make them happy for nothing." He nodded quickly. "You're right. You're thoughtful. I'll listen to you." Just then, I heard movement outside the window and looked up. Nathan was hiding outside, spitting on the ground in anger before disappearing into the night. I figured he saw Bryan inside and left in frustration. My husband, happy to be home, drank with me. I encouraged him to drink more until he finally passed out. Smiling at him sleeping peacefully, I turned off the lights. Moments later, I heard a commotion in the yard. The show was about to begin. Less than 2 minutes later, My in-laws burst into the room. Ellie, you shameless woman. My son's back in the army, and you're already cheating on him? We're still in the house, Ito, you think we're dead? I'll make an example of you. My mother-in-law jumped onto the bed, beating me through the quilt. You filthy slut. You dare betray my son?
Get out.
I'll drag you into the streets. Thinking her plan had succeeded, she grew more hysterical, shouting even louder. Then she ran outside, screaming, "Help! Someone come quick! My daughter-in-law is cheating. I have no face left to live." Soon, the neighbors gathered. My mother-in-law even pinched herself so that tears would fall more convincingly. She grabbed the person who came in and cried out, "What did our family do to deserve marrying such a shameless woman? This is a misfortune for us." Seeing how heartbroken she was, everyone rushed to comfort her. A few nosy neighbors ran into the bedroom, saw the mess on the floor, and immediately backed out, blushing with embarrassment. A crowd gathered at our doorway, speaking up for my mother-in-law. "Oh, I never realized your daughter-in-law was like this. She looked so decent. How could she do such a thing? Sister-in-law, your son brought honor to the Bryan family. Why would he marry such an unlucky woman? God must be blind." My sister-in-law Diana crossed her arms and looked like she was enjoying the drama. She said to me sarcastically, "The world is really going downhill. Sister-in-law, you should feel some shame. Our Bryan family has treated you so well. You're educated, we don't even make you do hard labor, and this is how you repay us? My brother is the only chief in this area. Life has just started getting better for us, and we can't let a tramp like you ruin his future. I'm going to telegram him right now and tell him to come home and divorce you." Hearing them, my mother-in-law became furious. She grabbed the carrying pole from the yard and stormed into the bedroom again. I had already dressed and was standing at the doorway. Seeing her charging at me, I patted my belly and said, "You want to fight? Come on then. I'm pregnant with your granddaughter, the eldest grandson of the Bryan family. Go ahead, hit me." The pole she raised froze midair. Seeing my confidence, my mother-in-law started to hesitate. You're not lying to me, are you?" My father-in-law came in too. "Old woman, don't believe a word she says. Even if she's pregnant, who knows which bastard's child it is?" I exploded. "What bastard? Get out of here and let my husband rest." As I moved to push them out, my mother-in-law suddenly regained her confidence. "Ah, shameless wretch. Diana saw your husband get on a train with his luggage. He's probably out of the province by now. How could he be home sleeping?" My sister-in-law chimed in. "That's right, I saw him off myself. No way he's in there now. And you always dress like a little seductress. Mom, I've even seen her flirting with Nathan. Maybe he's the one in the bed." After hearing that, my mother-in-law charged in again. "The man in the bed must be Nathan. She seduced him. We need to defend our son's honor. We won't let her humiliate him like this. Today I'll revive the old family traditions and fix her wicked ways." My father-in-law, fueled by her words, ripped the pole from her hands, stormed into the bedroom, and hit the figure in the quilt hard. I threw myself on top of my husband, crying out in pain, "Dad, don't hit him." But before I could finish, my father-in-law yelled, "Whoever he Isavin, if he's the king of heaven, can't cheat my son." I tried to protect my husband, but the force of my lunge and my weight hit him almost as hard as the pole did. He was still drunk and couldn't wake up, but let out a painful groan. My mother-in-law, seeing me defend what she thought was a lover, got even angrier, convinced I had no shame. The more I tried to protect him, the more they hit me. And the more they hit me, the happier they seemed. My father-in-law kept beating him, panting, "That voice, there's no way it's my son's. If you keep lying, I'll beat you too. I'll kill this bastard today." I screamed at the top of my lungs so everyone outside could hear. "Mom."
"Dad, please stop.
He really is my husband, your son. You're going to kill him." But seeing me clutching the quilt so tightly, my mother-in-law was convinced I was hiding someone inside. She grabbed at my hair, but I dodged. She missed and hit her head on the wall, a big lump swelling immediately. Furious at getting hurt, she shouted, "Old man, get that bastard into a sack." Under the dim light, they struggled to stuff the man in the quilt into a sack. No one noticed his face. My husband, still unaware of what was happening, got tied up by his own parents and dragged out to the yard. When the neighbors saw the adulterer being dragged out, they began to punch and kick him. Blood started seeping through the sack, staining the yard red. I threw myself onto the sack, sobbing, "Don't hit him. He's really Brian. If you don't believe me, open the sack and look." I knew the more I defended him, the more embarrassed they'd feel and the angrier they'd get. Sure enough, even beating him wasn't enough. My father-in-law hurled the entire sack into the pond. A lifelong farmer, he was strong, kept pressing the sack underwater, yelling, "Nathan, huh? Let's see you cheat again. I'll drown you this time." Soaked in cold water, my husband finally began to stir and tried to struggle free. He cried out, his hoarse voice barely audible. But far from stopping, it only made them angrier. I pretended to panic and stamped my feet by the water's edge, crying, "Dad, please stop. Forgive him. If you go on like this, someone will die." When he heard the word life, my father-in-law suddenly got angry. "I only have such a promising son. I must help him get rid of this anger. I'm going to get rid of the tools used by this wild man." As he spoke, he took out a knife from the house. "I've been a veterinarian all my life. Today I won't castrate cattle but people." I was immediately horrified. "Dad, you can't. What man can bear this knife? Please give him some dignity." My mother-in-law widened her eyes and scolded angrily. "Do you have any shame? Don't beg Nathan for mercy again and again. You're really satisfied with him." Then she urged my father-in-law, "Old man, hurry up and cut. This is the end of being an adulterer. If you want to be a man in your next life, you'll have to wait." My father-in-law walked toward my husband, a grim smile on his face. I rushed to stop him and pretended to trip on a stone. Only my mouth kept shouting, "Dad, I beg you not to hurt him. You'll regret it." My father-in-law spat a mouthful of thick phlegm at me. "If I don't teach him a lesson today, he'll regret it for the rest of his life." Then he stabbed the sack steadily and ruthlessly. As he stabbed, he cursed, "You little bastard, I'll teach you. If you harm other people's women again in the future, I'll make sure you never be a man again in this life." After stabbing several times, the sack's struggling became visibly weaker until it stopped moving altogether. I watched my husband's blood splatter on the ground. I sat down, my heart filled with joy, but my face reflected deep sadness, as if I had lost all my strength. At that moment, I suddenly saw Nathan in the crowd. Our eyes met, and he turned his head and tried to run. I rushed into the crowd and grabbed him. "Why are you running? Are you guilty?" Diana saw me grabbing Nathan and blurted out, "Why are you here?" Nathan looked at her strangely. "I'm not here? Where should I be?" My mother-in-law pointed, stunned, at the sack stained bright red with blood, and cried out in horror, "Then who is the person in this sack?" My father-in-law took 2 steps at a time and hurried to the sack. When he saw clearly who it was, he screamed in grief, "Son!" He quickly pulled him out of the sack and cried with tears and snot, "God damn it, son. Why are you at home? Open your eyes and look at Dad." My mother-in-law trembled all over, her face pale, and ran over in panic with unsteady steps. She fainted after just one look. Diana's eyes widened in disbelief that the person in the sack was really her brother. She kept shaking her head, her eyes dull.
"No.
This is impossible. I clearly saw him leave." By this time, Brian had lost too much blood and had been stabbed in vital areas. He had already stopped breathing. I wiped away my non-existent tears, held him, and howled, "Husband, you died so tragically. Your wife failed to protect you. I'm useless, and now you're gone. From now on, son, how can I live alone?" After crying out, I looked at my father-in-law angrily. "It's all your fault. He was your son. How could you do such a cruel thing to him? Even a ruthless tiger doesn't eat its own cubs. You're not human." My father-in-law was clearly ashamed of what I said, and his regret was obvious. My sister-in-law looked at her brother's bloody body in grief. When she heard me criticizing her father, she pointed at me with murderous eyes and transferred all her hatred to me. "Ellie, you vicious woman. My brother had clearly gone to the train station. How could he suddenly come back? Did you deliberately ask him to return? I opened my eyes wide in innocence. How could I know something like this would happen tonight?
I'm pregnant.
I told my husband and asked him to come back to celebrate with me. What's wrong with that? If my parents didn't believe me and insisted I was having an affair, and if they didn't act so violently, how could they have accidentally killed your brother? After speaking, I deliberately looked at the people around me. Fellow villagers, please judge what I said. Am I right? People nodded in agreement. That's right. Ellie shouted several times that it was Brian, but your parents didn't believe her. They beat and kicked him. We all saw him put Brian in a sack and throw him into the pool to abuse him. Yes, it was your parents who stabbed Brian with a knife and kept urging the stabbing. Ellie couldn't stop them no matter what. What could she do? There's no good person in your family. The father-in-law and mother-in-law argued, trying to catch an adulterer, but ended up killing their own son. Instead of reflecting, they blamed everything on their daughter-in-law. They're really unreasonable. Everyone was talking at once. Diana's face turned red and white. She kept arguing. Then why didn't she tell us when my brother came back? If my parents had known, they wouldn't have misunderstood that my sister-in-law was cheating. In the end, everything happened because she called him back for no reason. Ellie is the culprit. Just as she was listing my faults passionately, I raised my hand and slapped her hard. The slap used all my strength. Diana's face immediately swelled like a steamed bun. You dare to hit me? She cried, covering her burning cheek in disbelief, as if I were the devil. Yes, I hit you, I snapped. As a daughter, you gamble every day and owe a ton of debt, making your parents-in-law worry. That's unfilial. As a sister, you don't care about your brother's life or death, but only blame others. That's heartless. Diana's face immediately swelled up like a steamed bun. You dare to hit me? She covered her burning face in disbelief and looked at me as if I were the devil. I hit you? As a daughter, you gamble every day and owe a lot of debts, which makes your parents-in-law worry. This is unfilial. As a sister, you don't care about your brother's life or death, but only blame others for fanning the flames. This is unkind. As a sister-in-law, your own sister-in-law is wronged, but not only do you not help, you throw dirty water on her. This is unjust. Shouldn't I hit such an unkind, unjust, and unfilial person? My scolding immediately won applause from everyone present. Good for scolding a woman who doesn't do her job and goes out to eat, drink, and gamble every day. No wonder she's still not settled at such an old age. If her brother hadn't become a high-ranking official, the reputation of the Bryan family would have been ruined by her alone. By the way, it was she who just slandered Shioli for having an affair with Nathan, claiming she saw Nathan and his sister-in-law together with her own eyes. It was obviously her brother who insisted it was Nathan. It can be seen that she did it on purpose to avoid paying off her gambling debts. Hearing the villagers' inferences, I pretended to be enlightened and looked aggrieved. Little sister, why do you treat me like this? I ask myself what wrong I have done to you. I am filial to my parents-in-law and always care about you. Every year, I always pick out the new clothes your brother brings home first. I didn't expect you to be so vicious. It turns out you wanted to use me to help you get rid of your creditors. If I hadn't asked your brother to come back when I was pregnant, my innocence in this life would have been ruined by you. It is said that an elder sister-in-law is like a mother. What's the difference between what you did and killing your mother? My words made everyone present sigh. They looked at Diana with even more disgust. Nathan also figured it out at this time. He understood why she asked him to come here so late at night. He took a deep breath. The anger at being ruined by his wife at the beginning suddenly turned into relief at surviving a disaster. He strode toward Diana and kicked her. Bitch, you dare to slander Master Ma's reputation? I think you're tired of living. Diana rolled several meters away and fell like a dog. She was dizzy and struggled to get up, begging pitifully, Brother Nathan, I didn't mean that. I just seem to have seen you two hooking up. Before she finished speaking, Nathan kicked her again. What dog eyes do you have? It seems you're really an expert at making up rumors and causing trouble. Return my money quickly, or believe it or not, I'll sell you. Diana's face was pale, and the mud and blood on her made her look very embarrassed. Don't worry, brother, I will pay you back. At this time, Aunt Mia, who often acts as a matchmaker for the villagers, suddenly slapped her thigh and sighed with relief. Oh, a few days ago, the old Bryan family secretly asked me about the personal situation of the village chief's daughter. At that time, I was wondering because they only had one son and no brothers who needed to get married. Now I understand they are paving the way for the back first. Fortunately, I was careful and didn't say much. Otherwise, my golden signboard as a matchmaker for the past 20 years would have been ruined by you. If the village chief's daughter entered a family with bad intentions like yours, the village chief would have skinned me alive. I looked at Aunt Mia with exaggerated shock. Impossible. My parents-in-law treat me well, and my Bryan treats me even better. How could it be what you think? Is it possible my parents-in-law just want to introduce a partner to the village chief's daughter? Aunt Mia looked at me with pitiful eyes. You silly girl. You're too kind-hearted. Their family treats you like this. Why are you still speaking for them? Seeing that I still didn't believe it, Nathan quickly said, trying to take revenge on the Bryan family. Ellie, I, as your brother, will tell you the truth. Diana came to me during the day and asked me to go to your room in the middle of the night to use you as payment for her gambling debt. But how could I, your brother, do such a thing? She was driven away on the spot. I didn't expect something bad would happen to your family tonight. Nathan's confession stunned everyone. People in the Bryan family could do such a crazy thing for their selfish interests. People gradually turned from contempt to anger. Some even publicly began to curse Bryan as deserving death. This was the retribution for their family harming others. Seeing that Nathan sold himself out, the sister-in-law didn't care that he was a creditor and came to confront him angrily. Nathan, you bastard. When did I look for you? She is my sister-in-law who cheated on my brother. What can I do? It is obviously her own misconduct that caused my parents to suspect her and caused my brother to be killed innocently. She is a jinx and a disaster for our Bryan family. Just as she finished speaking, the mother-in-law woke faintly. She looked at her son lying in a pool of blood with grief and heard the sister-in-law's words. Tears streamed down her face. Ellie, tell me the truth. Did you collude with Nathan? You are the one who told such a lie. My daughter has not left the house all day. How could she find Nathan? It is even more impossible for him to enter our yard in the middle of the night. Besides, what is his reputation in the village? Everyone knows an old gangster would refuse to go to a woman's room in the middle of the night. Who would believe it? My son has been defending his country all his life. He hasn't come back many times in 3 years. Just because he stayed one more day, he got killed. How could this be such a coincidence? It must be that you two colluded to deliberately kill my son so you can live together in the future, right? The old are still the best. She first let her daughter serve as a witness to prove Diana's innocence. Then she used Nathan's character to attack Nathan's testimony. The lethality was first class. Sure enough, after she finished speaking, many people began to hesitate. Yes, the young girls and wives in the village would stay away from him when they saw him. He was as greedy as a dog seeing meat whenever he saw a woman. How could he refuse? Nathan felt uncomfortable when he heard everyone's discussion. Hey, I'm telling you, a bunch of old women, please be more virtuous when you speak. If you refuse, then you refuse. Otherwise, the person in the sack is me. My Uncle Ma is lucky and survived this disaster. Besides, if I had colluded with Ellie just to kill Bryan, she would have taken the initiative to tell you that the person in the sack was her husband. She should have kept silent and hoped that you would always misunderstand and let you beat and scold him and stab him with a knife. But in fact, everyone saw that she tried her best to tell you the truth from the beginning, but it was a pity that you didn't believe it. When you took the knife, it was she who rushed over and told you not to stab her and said that you would regret it if you stabbed her. But what did your old man say? He said that he would regret it if he didn't stab her. I looked at him in surprise. I didn't expect that, by accident, I got the strongest backup. His reasoning was correct. Everyone present fell silent, but that judgmental look made the old Bryan family feel uncomfortable all over. The hard part didn't work, and the mother-in-law came immediately, and the soft folks said, I only have this one son, Ellie, who is also a member of our Bryan family. If she really had something scandalous, our Bryan family would also lose face. How could we do such a shameless thing? Now that he is dead, The dead are the most important, so fellow villagers, please say less. It is hard enough for us, the elderly, to send off the young. It is hard enough. How can we be happy if we are thinking about harming others every day? I looked at my mother-in-law with contempt and pointed to the unlocked door in the backyard. You opened this door in the middle of the night just to let Nathan come in and destroy my innocence, right? Seeing that I discovered all this, she shouted angrily, "You bitch, my son is dead. You go down and pay for his life. I want you to die." After that, she pounced on me and strangled my neck to kill me. She was tall, fat, and very strong. I instantly felt that I could hardly breathe. At this time, I heard my father-in-law shouting, "Stop hitting me." Everyone looked at him, only to see that he was sitting on the ground in a dejected and wooden manner, with Brian's body in his arms. He looked at us, raised his bloody hands, and shouted, "Old woman, Brian is dead. What's the point of you fighting? It's us who killed him. It's us." The mother-in-law panicked and ran over to cover his mouth. "Old man, are you too sad? Don't talk nonsense." Diana also looked at her parents in panic and kept shaking her head at them. The father-in-law laughed miserably, pushed the mother-in-law away, and shouted angrily, "How long are you going to make trouble?" Then he looked around sadly and said, "It is said that evil will be punished. I believe it. Old woman, don't struggle anymore. Stop it. Yes, Shioli is our family. I'm sorry, I apologize to you on their behalf. Brian's death was all caused by our greed. We didn't want to pay off our gambling debts. We colluded with Nathan. As long as he enters the house tonight, we can catch him openly. Adultery can not only make your son divorce you and marry the daughter of the village chief, but also get rid of Nathan by catching him in adultery. This is our purpose." After saying that, he slowly put down her husband and knelt on the ground silently. "Ellie begs you that everything was done by me and the old woman. Diana doesn't know that you let her go." His words were equivalent to admitting all the crimes. The villagers were also stunned. They didn't expect that the final outcome would be like this. After hearing the father-in-law tell all the secrets, the mother-in-law silently lowered her head and sat on the ground in despair. Only Diana was still obsessed. "My brother is so outstanding. She is not worthy of my brother at all. I just want a richer and more capable sister-in-law. What's wrong with that? Ellie has nothing and is still a hen that doesn't lay eggs. If it weren't for her, my brother wouldn't have died." Seeing her daughter still crazy for herself, the father-in-law suddenly slapped her in the face. "Child, don't make the same mistake again and again." I looked at them coldly. "You have already committed a crime. It's up to the police to decide whether to let you go or not. I have another wish, and I promise you can fulfill it. That is, from now on, I will have nothing to do with your Brian family." The mother-in-law, who had been silent all the time, suddenly raised her head and said sternly, "No, you are pregnant with my family's Brian's flesh and blood. You can't cut off the incense of our Brian family." Seeing that she seemed obsessed with her grandson, I looked at her very pitifully. "You want to be a grandmother in your next life?" I quickly called the police because someone was killed. The public security organs attached great importance to it. But the cause of the whole incident and the people involved were very simple. Soon the court's verdict came. The father-in-law was sentenced to death for intentional homicide. The mother-in-law was also sentenced to 20 years as an accomplice. Diana, who had a teacher, was sentenced to 10 years in prison for instigating others to commit crimes. I also left the village where I had lived for many years and went to the south. I took advantage of the reform and chose to start a business. After a few years, I became a well-known female entrepreneur. Later, I met another like-minded person in the business world and got married. I lived a happy life. I met a fellow villager at a trade fair and learned that Diana was released from prison 10 years later. No one in the village dared to marry her because she couldn't pay off her gambling debts. She had to marry Nathan. He abused her constantly. Finally, Diana couldn't stand it and jumped into the river to commit suicide. When the news reached the prison, my mother-in-law went crazy. Knowing these things, I was not surprised. After all, they were very far away from my life. Let the past be the past. The new life in the present and the future is more important to me.